일단 그 당시에 그냥 제 선택이 그랬던 거라 뭔가 아미들이 원하면은 다음에는 더
Welcome, TAEKOOK Forever. Of course, ARMYs love your solo work. But if I look at the criticism, it's that they say they want you to write more, and also that the album is too Western, for better or worse. Have you ever heard of that? And what do you think of the idea? Jungkook, it was just my choice at the time. I could write more on my next album if that's what ARMY wants. But at that time, I wanted something else. I want to get good songs and release albums as soon as possible. That's the whole reason. I also think the types of stories I can tell are still quite limited. I've said in some interviews that I'd rather create a story to tell, but I have an S asterisk in my MBTI profile. So boy, that's hard. So, in the future, when I have more things to do and more things to say, I think it will happen naturally. When it comes to the solo journey of a global idol like BTS's Jungkook, it is impossible to separate from the high expectations of his fans, especially ARMY, who have always faithfully followed every step of his career. In an interview, a question came up that was both interesting and sensitive about the criticism of his solo album, especially about Jungkook's lack of songwriting contributions and the nuances of music that were considered too Western. That question actually reflects two sides of fan expectations. On the one hand, ARMY loves Jungkook's work for what it is. But on the other hand, they also have certain expectations for the artistic direction he takes. They want to see more of Jungkook in his work, not just as a singer, but also as a writer, as a storyteller.
Don't expect greatness, do my best, man, I'll take it. Wake up.
As an artist who truly expresses himself. In response to this, Jungkook gave an honest and reflective answer. He said that everything he did on the album was the result of his choice at the time. There is no regret, no over-defense, just a simple but deeply meaningful explanation. It was just my choice at the time, he said. This sentence may sound short, but it actually holds a lot of meaning. As an artist who is at the peak of global popularity, every decision taken is not something light. There are industry pressures, public expectations, limited time, and of course personal desires as a musician. Jungkook admitted that he could have written more songs for his album. In fact, he doesn't rule out the possibility of doing so in the future, especially if it's something that ARMY wants. But at the time the album was made, he had a different goal.
Today's gonna be a good day. Wake up. Today's gonna be a good.
He wanted to release something fast, something powerful, and something that many people could enjoy right away. The focus at that time was on getting good songs, songs that were mature, ready to be heard, and of high production quality. This is an approach that many global artists often take, especially when they want to expand their market reach. This is where criticism has arisen that the album feels too Western. But when viewed from a broader perspective, this step can actually be understood as a strategy. Jungkook, as one of the BTS members who has immense international popularity, tries to bridge the world of K-pop with the global music industry. The Western nuances in the album do not mean loss of identity, but can also be seen as exploration. An attempt to try something new, get out of his comfort zone, and see how he can develop on the international stage.
I live my life in my head like a narration. Don't expect greatness, do my best.
However, Jungkook also honestly admits that there are limits in terms of the stories he can tell at this time. He felt that his life experiences, while extraordinary, might not have been enough to produce a truly complex and profound narrative that he would have liked. He even mentions his personality type in the MBTI, which has an S, sensing, tendency, which means he focuses more on concrete and real things rather than abstract or imaginative. This made the process of creating a story more challenging for him. This confession actually shows Jungkook's human side. Behind his status as a global superstar, he remains someone who is learning, developing, and finding his identity as an artist. He does not force himself to become something he is not ready to live. Instead, he chose to let the process happen naturally.
Today's gonna be a good day. Wake up. Today's gonna be a good day.
He believes that over time, With more life experiences, more stories will come naturally. In the future, when I have more things to do and more things to say, I think it will happen naturally, he said. This statement gives a clear picture of how Jungkook sees his career in the long run. He is not in a hurry to meet all expectations at once. He understands that being an artist is not only about producing works, but also about growth. In this context, criticism from the ARMY is actually not something negative. Rather, it is a form of love and hope. They want to see Jungkook develop. They want to hear his voice, not just vocally, but emotionally and creatively as well. And Jungkook seems to understand that very well. He did not reject criticism, but also did not let it drastically change his course. He took it as input, as something to consider in the future without losing his personal identity and vision. If you look at BTS's journey as a whole, each member does have their own exploration.
Today's gonna be a good day. Wake up.
Phase. From their debut to becoming global icons, they have continued to evolve, both musically and personally. Jungkook, as the Magne, youngest member, may have had a slightly different journey. He grew up in the spotlight from a very young age. Many of his life experiences took place in front of the camera, on stage, and amid the cheers of millions of fans. This certainly affects the way he sees the world, the way he expresses himself, and the way he creates his work. Therefore, it is not surprising that he feels that the stories he can tell at this time are still limited. But that's exactly where the potential lies. Because when the time comes, when his life experience gets richer, the work he produces can become much deeper and more personal. The fans may have to be a little patient, because this process cannot be forced. True creativity takes time, experience, and honesty. And from what Jungkook said, it was clear that he wanted to deliver something authentic, not just meeting expectations, but truly reflecting himself. In the future, it is very likely that we will see Jungkook, who is more active in songwriting. Maybe he'll start telling more personal, more emotional, and more complex stories. It's also possible that he will find a balance between the Western style and the K-pop identity that has raised his name. Either way, one thing is for sure, Jungkook is on his way. A journey to find her own voice as a solo artist. And for ARMY, this journey is something worth following, not just because of the end result, but because of the process. Because at the end of the day, music is not just about the songs we hear, but also about the story behind them. And Jungkook's story has just begun. Thank you for watching to the end, TAEKOOK Forever lovers. If you also feel that Jungkook and Taehyung really gave an amazing performance, don't forget to support this video by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Let us know in the comments section which moments of appearance from the Face era give you goosebumps. See you in the next video. Horahi.
Other times I'm barely breathing though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they rot. Head full of flaws.